Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. This morning I'm going to be making a double batch of my egg bagels, and this should last me for a couple of weeks. To get started, we have 3/4 of a cup of hot water, about 110 degrees. We don't want it too hot or it might kill the yeast. And here I have some active dry yeast, and with my handy dandy yeast spoon, I'm going to measure 2 teaspoons and a quarter, which is the equivalent to a package of active dried yeast. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of sugar in there, a teaspoon, to give the yeast something to work on. And now we'll add some of our water. Give it a stir. And we'll let that sit for about 5 minutes to proof. We'll know it's ready when it starts bubbling, and then we can move along with the next step. All right, our yeast is doubled in size and it's looking good. So we're going to start putting the ingredients into the mixing bowl. So first off, we have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And we need a tablespoon of avocado oil. And a teaspoon of salt. And now we can get it mixing. Okay. Now with that turned on, we're going to add the yeast mixture. And we need 1 egg. And we've still got a little bit of yeast in here, so I'm going to be adding the rest of this 3/4 of a cup of water. So I'll use that to rinse out the yeast. Okay. And now we're just going to add water until the whole thing comes together. There we go. And if you don't actually need all 3/4 of a cup of water, you can stop before you're done. But in my case, it's still looking a little shaggy, so I'm going to add the last little bit. And now we have a dough ball. Hey Google, Set a kneading timer for 5 minutes.
Timer set for 5 minutes for kneading.
All right, we'll just let that go. Okay, our 5 minutes is complete. I'm just gonna pull this dough off. And it's just a little sticky. Let me give it a couple of kneads here. Yeah, and is still a little sticky. We're gonna get some flour. All right, that's feeling better. The hand kneading is not necessary, but I like to be able to feel the dough before I set it to rise. All right. And we need a little bit of olive oil. And we're just going to place the dough in there, get it covered with the oil, and it needs to sit for 15 minutes. I'm just going to cover it here with a towel and let it have a snooze. All right, our timer has just gone off and our dough is rested. Just going to give it a couple of kneads to get the air out of it. The total weight of this is 652 grams. So each of our bagels is going to be about 65 grams. And I like to weigh mine because I'm terrible at guessing. That's about 60. There we go. See, that one's only 50. So now for each one of our, we're going to roll them into a ball. All right. Now that we have all of our balls rolled out, we're just going to stick our fingers into the middle and sort of form the bagel shape. Some people roll them into a log and then stick them together, but I find that this is the easiest way to get a uniform shape. I always end up with my bagels breaking where I tried to stick them together if I do it the other way. All right, there's our 10 bagels, and we're going to let them rest for another 15 minutes. While our bagels were resting, I've got a big pot of water on to boil. I've added a couple of spoonfuls of sugar to this, but you could also add some honey. Okay, our timer is just about to go off.
Your bagel timer is up.
All right, let's get these bagels boiling. I normally drop 3 at a time into the boiling water. And we cook them for 2 minutes per side. As they boil, they puff up. And as we get those on to boil, we're going to set for the oven to preheat to 425. Okay, that's been about 2 minutes on that side, so we're going to give them a flip. We'll give them 2 minutes on the other side. All right, that is the last of our bagels. And turn off the stove. And we'll give the bagels a bit of an egg wash. At this point, you could also sprinkle them with some poppy seeds, some sesame seeds, or some everything bagel, or even some cheese. However, I prefer mine plain. And that's our oven announcing that it's ready to bake. And we're just going to slip those into the oven. Set a bagel timer for 20 minutes, and I'll see you when they're done. And there they are, a dozen freshly baked bagels ready for my breakfast this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in my kitchen. I'll see you again real soon.